Hi everyone and welcome to the Tormek Live Sharpening Classes. We're at the Tormek headquarters in Lindesberg, Sweden. Spring has arrived in Sweden and Swedes like spring.
Still chilly.
Still chilly, but Swedish spring. But we decided to be inside for the sharpening class.
Absolutely.
But we're full of energy.
As always.
Happy to go. In today's episode we will talk about how to repair a damaged knife. And there are a lot of different damages we come across out there and a lot of different knives as well. Yep. But we have decided to focus on the most common damages we see, and we have decided to focus on kitchen knives. However, most of the things you can apply on all types of knives.
Absolutely.
You might know this by now if you have followed us for a while, but my name is Sebastian and I'm a country sales manager. With me I have my colleague Wolfgang.
Hello, and behind the camera
we have our media responsible Victor, our film guy, and also responsible for some great graphics we will try to show you later on. Welcome, Victor.
Thank you.
Before we go into these different kind of damages and the nice pictures Victor has done for us, I thought you, Wolfgang, could perhaps show us. No, I tend to forget this. I forgot it's in the Swedish episode as well.
This on the side and in the bottom.
Yes, it's live, so please don't hesitate to ask your questions and we'll try to answer them as best as possible during the show. I saw a couple of questions popped up already, but we will answer them along the way. Now, over to you, Wolfgang. When you have to repair knives, here we have a quite damaged knife, you need to remove quite a lot of material. Could you perhaps reflect a bit how you should think when you remove material and perhaps show us how you can do it in the most efficient way?
Absolutely. So I will start with the worst case scenario. You have a big damage, a lot of material. So the fastest way is of course a bench grinder, but a bench grinder will destroy your tempered blade, so I wouldn't recommend it. Your knife costs money, you repair it. It takes a little bit time, of course, and this is worth always to invest it. If it's a good knife, a cheap knife, you throw away. It's the fastest way to repair a knife. The other thing is, if you have a belt sander, there are slow ones through water, it's perfect. If a little bit a faster one, you get sparks, then have a glass of water next to you, just cool it down and repair it. Or if you have either of these machines, have only at the Tormek, you can use, of course, the DC 250, our coarse diamond wheel. So you can remove very fast material, or faster than the others, of course, it's coarse, with that machine, with that wheel, and then just get finer and finer for your finish. If you have not a diamond wheel, you can do it even on the Blackstone if you have, or if you have nothing of it, just the normal Tormek original standard stone SG250, it is fine. But then I would recommend with our SP650, the stone grader, just to rough up the surface to make the stone a little bit more aggressive.
Yes. What we could say with the bench grinder, you don't want to heat up the steel as you talked about, but it's perhaps more important to not heat up the steel near to the bevel. If you take away material from the back, this is probably, or there won't be material that you will cut with. So it's not as important as close to the bevel.
But still be careful because it doesn't look nice. This gives miscoloring, blue, yellowish color then in the metal.
Yeah. If you have nicks in the knife,
the easiest and fastest way, you can just, if you have small nicks, you can sharpen it in the normal way until the nicks are gone. If they are a little bit deeper, I turn around the machine for Victor here. I go just in that way, freehand, and you can just go along the line and take the nicks off. You get, of course, a flat knife, but you have to establish, of course, a new bevel, and this is just in the normal way, like you sharpen. So this is freehand, a very fast way, and I will show you another way too, which we come later on another point to it. This is the most efficient way. But on a diamond wheel, be a little bit careful because the surface is very little. very little pressure also, otherwise you will destroy your diamond wheel.
This knife has quite a few issues.
Yeah.
We have the tip away and stuff, but we also have a recurve towards the heel, or a slope, whatever you want to call it. And then I have 3 questions in one for you, or I have 3 questions regarding this matter. Why don't we want this recurve on the knife? Second, how does it occur? And third question, how do we repair it?
Okay, the first question, I will maybe show it to Victor when he comes a little bit closer. The recurve or the inwards bound on a kitchen knife. I'll go over here, I think he is better to see. And this is when you have chopping cuts, or even if you have slicing cuts in that way, or here have leek, for example, or chive. You have long fibered vegetables. You don't cut them here. Everything will stick together in a big chunk, which is not that what we want.
No.
So therefore we want a straight edge. There's some knives, outdoor knives, hunting knives, who are recurved. This we showed in our advanced knife sharpening, how to sharpen or reshape the recurved part and how to sharpen it. Short word, just over the edge. But then look on our advanced knife sharpening. But here on kitchen knife we want it straight.
And the second question was
how?
Why? Yeah, how does it occur?
Most people, when they use the steel,
Yeah.
they use it mostly here because, you touch here, most pressure.
You start from there,
Yeah,
and when
exactly.
you come back every time.
Or even when you're sharpening, just we can take this knife also, already in the cheek. You apply too much pressure. That means you start not like you should. You see very often a little bit offset in the middle of the blade. Always you start here. Then the problem is too much pressure. Then mostly you will touch here, or when you go over too much pressure, you go over the edge here. So it will take quite a bit here. Now these edges, as you see, they are quite aggressive. So always we say break the edges just when you start the machine. A little bit up, a little bit of water. When you a little bit too much down here, just take the rough side and round it off. And you do it on both sides, a small radius on it. So this is just more forgiving. I'll stop the machine, maybe you see a little bit better. So it's rounder compared to here. So this is not as aggressive as you come here. Then when you sharpen the movement over, you go over and backwards. And mostly when you go backwards, you have a little bit overdo the movement so that you lift here and then you get in here. And then it's straight because you feel comfortable. You slow down mostly, because here it's complicated. You go quite fast and then you slow down here. And then the contact time here, it's longer until you go back again. So you sharpen more here, then after a while it gets more and more and more, and then the time comes when you see it.
I often almost try, when you come towards the heel, to speed it up, because it's automatically easy, since you're a bit afraid taking the heel or here, and you want to be careful, then you take a longer time. So,
or you make a really nice movement. Really, most people you see very fast also. Yeah. Just take your time, that the stone also can grab, then you have a better control. That's one reason, mostly that occur, of course.
Then a problem often is also that once you got a small recurve here, people try to repair it
and sharpen
more time there. And
exactly, because they try to get off the heel and then they press, and then you have...
And you won't get it away that way.
Yeah.
You have to do...
The only way is, like I showed, lengthwise, or then we come to another version when you use our MB100, if you have it, this way.
Other way around. and then other way around like
No,
that.
it's okay. So
Okay.
that works.
You're happy there?
You can have this way or that way, and then you can use it on the side because you have really a long way, and you will only sharpen, of course, on the longest, also on the highest tips here, and they will sharpen away first the tops until you come to the deepest point, and then you get really a nice straight edge again, a nice shape. So this, and of course, you establish at the same time the bevel. Because when you go here on the stone on the side, you make it totally flat, and you have then to establish the bevel. So in this way, you make 2 in 1.
And don't keep going like you did from the beginning, because you will just get a bigger and bigger recurve. So you have to do one of these two possibilities to
Absolutely, just to
get away.
To start from 0, you have to remove it. Don't try to fix it. It's like in other tools too. So this is very comfortable version because you have really good contact and you see really good where it is on both sides then.
Perfect. Then we have another question we get quite a lot. There are knives that have kind of bolster towards the heel of the knife. And then when you sharpen, the bevel will come higher and higher up and the heel will surpass.
Yep.
And then you will have the same problem we showed before with you won't be able to cut the whole way. How do you come around that problem?
Most people leave it because they think it looks nice and it's difficult to take away. Always the same, when you come on the cutting board, you have the part where you don't cut until mostly here. So the 2/3 of the knife you can use and then mostly use here on that part. I go in that way, I turn around the machine for Victor again to show it from the side. What I do, always the machine turns from you, and then I go only here on the side, not to damage the bevel, and then I go I can shape, because it's slightly bent, and then it's rounded here. You can show it like this here. You can and then from the other side, exactly the same. It's quite a bit material. It takes a while, so you can use your diamond wheel, the coarse one, or just roughen up the surface here on that stone, just to speed up the process. Personally, I would go here, while the knife is straight, I would go a little bit later on, a little bit rounded here, because then next time it's much faster to reshape, to take off material, so you do it only once a little bit more, and then a little bit round. Also here at the edge, it's more comfortable when it's a little bit more round.
It's a good idea also to do this often, so you don't wait too long, so you get too much of a heel, because then it will take longer. If you just take a couple of passes every time, then you're up to date with your heel.
Otherwise, it takes a little bit more when you do it.
Great. Thank you, Wolfgang. We talked about that we will going to show you a couple of different damages on knives and how to repair them. But we have done like you see in cooking shows, where when you bake something, you put it in the oven, and then you have a ready cake that comes out.
Always on the fridge, cut it and everything.
So we want to save you time. So here comes Victor's graphics. And we have a couple of different things. We will show you first how the damage was, how we thought around it, and then we will show you the done result.
Exactly.
First damage that comes up is a broken tip, or a small broken tip. And why does these kind of damages occur, Wolfgang?
I think it's a classic. And the men come and say it was my wife, but I'm not so sure. But this is mostly frozen food. For example, you cut in, or just open the tin, or a jar on the lock. Go under just a little bit, the vacuum, it's hard, you take a little bit air in, or in a bone, or just simply dropped.
Yeah.
It doesn't need a lot, but maybe it doesn't happen the first time, but the second or third time, because it's a small damage, and then maybe, especially when it's frozen cold, then they're much more delicate, and then break off quite often the tips.
And here we Since the tip is very little broken, we decided to try to reshape the knife.
Exactly.
So if Victor puts the next picture there, great. And try to give it its original shape. So we took a bit from the back of the knife as well from the bevel, and the knife became a bit smaller, but it looks very much like the original knife.
And as you see, we took a little bit more from the back than from the edge itself, because when you do it on a belt sander, or on a heating producing method, the damage on the top is not as significant, as we said, than from the bevel. And there also the material, the knife is much bigger, there's much more material than in the bottom. And so we want to just to keep the knife in the original shape as it was, with the tip and the nice shape. Of course, all repaired knives will lack on the balance, of course.
So if we take the done result, the ready baked knife.
Yep, it looks like a new one.
Great, then we have the next damage, and we called this the medium broken tip, but it's quite a significant broken tip.
Yep.
Why does this occur, Wolfgang?
This also mostly, you have maybe frozen vegetables, you go in there, you want to break them apart, or in meat, or as I said, broken down, falling down. These are the classics, or mostly just in the knives, always in this direction. When you even
they're not as strong.
You hit something like this or on the floor.
Drop it.
They're very, very sensitive in that way.
And this case, you were perhaps a bit more unlucky than in case number one.
Yep, exactly. But also happens. You can start with a small crack in the bottom, and then it starts growing up all the way.
But here we have a couple of different options that we tended for. We had to redo the knife a little, but Victor showed us the next picture. So, for example, we could do this kind of shape.
Yeah, this is the typical Asian or Japanese vegetable knife. The nakiri shape is just straight off. You could maybe a little bit, I took a little bit more here away, maybe less material. I can't remember if there was a small nick in the bottom or so, therefore made it a little bit shorter. So you could do it maybe a little bit less
we
of
have
removal.
The next shape, perhaps, can we see?
Yes, this is the classical sundoku shape. So we have a little bit drawn up, and we took from the top a little bit off, just that the overall image or design should look nice. And yeah,
the different options we have here, they are quite similar in how you use them, but it's more a question of what
aesthetics,
you think. Yeah, aesthetics,
and design.
what looks best. We have one more option, perhaps, or even two.
This is also bunka or kirisake shape, which is straight off. It's very easy because you can use also a saw, a metal saw, a band saw, for example, just by hand, or grinding down. So there are different possibilities to get rid of the edge. It's also a classical shape. Just bend it up also a little bit from the bottom, just to get a nice cutting feeling.
Then we have the last one, the one we went for, I think.
Yes, this is like the suntoku. It's just a little bit stronger bend, so a little bit less material to remove. And this is what we also went for.
There we have the finished result. So if you have a really broken or damaged knife, instead of throwing it away, you can try to make that you have more different kinds of knife at home, not only regular chef's knives.
I think it's a good possibility also. Go on the internet, look on different knife shapes, take a pen, just draw it and see how it looks, and then take the edge marker, and then you see where you have to remove material.
I don't know if you hear the sound in the background. It's not your computer's gone wrong, it's our neighbor picking a fight with us. No, we apologize for the sound. I don't know how much you hear of it, but We try to.
A little bit of houseworks here,
Yeah.
masonry works on next to us.
It's to prove that we are really here live.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great. If we take next knife, we call this big tip. I would say half the knife is gone almost.
Yep, most people will throw away,
Yeah.
but in the last couple of years, they come, I think more the German invention, the herb knife,
Yeah.
and then we took quite a rounded version to it. We took quite a lot of material away, and so this is like, maybe the knife which is like, what do you call this?
Herb knife.
Vagga. It is like a cradle or so, round, and this is just in one knife.
And not everyone has a herb knife at home, so here
No.
you can make the most of the situation and create your own herb knife.
Exactly. We took also the tip a little bit down, because when you come up, always you can cut until the tip. So
If we change picture
to the result, yes.
Great.
Looks a little bit funny, but still usable instead of throwing away. And otherwise you can buy these knives too.
What we want to just make sure, so it's different from different knife makers, but sometimes it's not the same steel all the way through the knife, depending on the manufacturer. So that means that the quality, if you come so high up, can sometimes be great, just like the bevel, but sometimes it can be a bit lower quality. So this might not work for all types of knife, but for many of them.
And here in that knife you see especially that the bevel to the back of the knife is getting wider, or to the tip is getting wider than on the bottom, because the material in the tip here is much thicker, so you get automatically a little bit wider bevel there.
In our case, it's more perhaps an aesthetic problem than the actual usage of it.
It's functional.
Yeah. Great. Then we have next example, and here we have a really bad crack through the knife. I don't know how well you see it, but Victor has, of course, made an arrow. He thinks of everything, so you see it. And this crack went quite far into the knife.
It was around 1.5 centimeters maybe in there, and you see someone tried already with sandpaper or to maybe remove it, because it was also a little bit bent on the side. So, but I decided to make a really radical cut to that knife, to make it like a universal knife, or like a little bit like a meat knife, a filleting knife, which is not flexible, more stiff. It's good for if you have hams to cut around the bone or so.
And now the crack was quite near the heel, so this was our only option. If it would have been more towards the tip, then we could have made some of the other options. But here this was our only way to go. But still, we get another, instead of throwing away a knife, we get another knife to our collection.
And this is the result. And even here, as you mentioned, most knives are hardened in the tip, or where the edge is, then to the top, not hardened all the way through. So this is something you have to take in account, of course, that maybe the edge, the durability is not the same as it was maybe before.
No. Great. Then we have one last knife, and this is not that badly damaged, but you have two big nicks here, one towards the heel and one towards the tip. And here, of course, you can take away both nicks, like Wolfgang showed you before. However, we chose to
show you also a variety. And these nicks are typical, classical, when you cut and then you go or move on the cutting board sidewards, or small bones or stones sometimes in there. We took away the tip, the nick in the direction of the tip, because this is the area where you use your knife mostly. And we left a little bit of the other one just to serve a safe material, just to make it easier for us, because you see it a little bit here, still there, yes, because this doesn't affect you. If it's for you, you want to save material, it's fine. Personally, I would take it also away just for the aesthetics, and if you do it for friends, you will take it anyway away, because you want to deliver a perfect knife. But in the end, if you have a small nick here, you can leave it, because you don't use the knife.
And take it further up ahead when it's...
This is
dull again.
also an option.
Great. This was very nice graphics. Thank you, Victor. This is some of the most common damages we see out there.
Yeah, we have one question before we forget the bend.
Yes, we will take questions.
Okay.
I just thought we would before.
I was a little bit faster.
I thought we could show you
Okay,
the nice
the
knives,
original.
the original ones we have. So here was the first one where we had a small tip break off, and you see it looks pretty much like the original knife. Here was the second one.
Took this away here. And even when you grind down, just see till that you take a little bit sanding over the edges that they are smooth and comfortable, not sharp edges on the side.
And this was the third one where almost half knife was gone. So Wolfgang did it to a herb knife. Fourth one was with a big crack. It became a meat knife or a non-flexible fillet knife. And the last one was the one with, I don't know, where we kept the small nick, but we took away the bigger nick just to save material. Great job with the knives, Wolfgang. I know you put love into it.
And even here on the back side, we used, of course, here you see it maybe from the edges, especially the wider ones. You see they're really nice and shiny. We took the Japanese waterstone for the finish, and even I took the back side, so it's really super smooth. There's no uncomfortable feeling there, like it's
You don't
edges
cut yourself
or
on the back of the knife.
exactly.
Great. Now we're coming to the questions, and we had questions before we even got started, and that was if you have
a bend
Yes.
knife. As we understand, I think when you look in here, you have a little bit like that, a bend in the bottom, mostly on all over the edges. It isn't. It's mostly down here for maybe up to half a centimeter. Depends how thick and how strong the steel is. There's a huge problem. What you can do carefully, just good planing hammer, a flat hammer on a flat surface, and try to carbon steel is easier than powder steels or hard steels, just to straighten it up again. If it isn't possible.
And often this happens on softer steels, because if you would have a harder steel, it would have cracked completely.
Exactly.
So try to flatten it out, because otherwise if you still have the bend, when you sharpen, you will...
Always you get the bend, you will sharpen away that, you will end up always with a hole inside. So then it's the only way, just really, depends where it is, take it off to the deepest point and then find the shape or, for what you want to use the knife, how big it is, how thick it is. This is a little bit depending on the design of the blade.
Great. So we seem to have a lot of questions. Ken, our good friend, says, would you please spend a little time explaining the new KJ45? There is much interest on the forum. Great,
you
Ken,
saw
good
it.
to see you. Yeah, we used our new knife jigs, the KJ45 and the KJ140. But I will have to be mean to you, Ken. You will have to be patient, because next episode of our live sessions, we will talk all about the KJ jigs.
Absolute.
This was just a little teaser, so you have to wait for another week or two. But I think we're very happy. It creates a lot of interest, and we are proud of them, and we think they can help.
Yeah, they're hitting the market anyway on 1st of April.
Yes.
The first, so we have a little bit of time, and then we will explain it really in depth, all the way how it works, what the advantages are.
And until then, if you still are very curious, you can visit tormek.com and get a lot of info over there.
Exactly. Or
the forum, as Ken said, there are a lot of discussions there. Great. Dudley says, when you use the MB100 to sharpen on the side of a wheel, do you measure the angle in the standard way?
Yeah, exactly. It's the same way.
But you have
take it here. You use, the easiest way is to use the edge marker method.
Yes.
Just to paint your edge. Or you take the
MB100, we'll see where it is.
No,
It's not there.
it's the. Oh, yeah.
I will find it for you, Wolfgang.
You will find it.
I thought.
Because we just cleaned up a little bit and put stuff away. But at the end, you use in the same way as you apply the angle master, you use it here on the side. But don't go in on the deepest point. Really hold it here on the side or here on the side, on the same surface. And there's a secondary scale on it. I just look here too if there's some. No. Yes, I have one. Sebastian, here's one.
You did a better job than I did, Wolfgang.
So here you see MB100, use always 250. If they're the old ones, use 250. If you use the new one, you have a second scale on top. There stands MB100. So you don't use these angles, you use the angles on top. If the old one, you have to add how much? 18 degrees.
Yes.
To your existing degrees. If you want 25, you have 25 plus 18 you have to choose, because this is the curving to compensate. But the new one, you choose here, for example, like 15 degrees. You choose here 15 degrees. And then just hold it here, and then hold it here. So that means here I have to go far in with the open here. And that works in the same way. Then a little bit more. The same method. A little bit more. So you can find also the angle in that way. That's a thing you wish you have 3 hands, but it works also. But the edge marker method is the easiest method.
Simple and fast. Great.
Just remember, you have one upwards and one downwards side when
Yeah.
you sharpen. Feels a little bit strange in the beginning, but
Once you get used to it, I actually love sharpening on the side.
you can go straight from the top in that position, or you can go behind or sideways.
Yeah.
Depends how you prefer it and you feel comfortable.
Operation Mickey Mouse says, I repair jointer knives on electrical hand blade. Then we have Dudley Warner. When repairing a knife tip, how do you draw the new shape smoothly and symmetrically?
When the tip is off.
Yes. How did you draw the shape? How did you decide the shape? Did you draw on the knife?
Yeah, I draw on the knife first with the edge marker. Do we have one?
You did it
here?
freehand.
So you can freehand if you're
Yeah.
good to it, or if you have a metal ruler, for example, you can bend, or some like a little bit stiff plastic you can bend, and then you get a nice shape. But it's also easy. You make a few dots, and then you can connect the dots to a line. So there are different ways to get a nice one, or you take just screenshots on your computer, print it out, get the right size, take a little bit glue on it, and then paint it, or
Great.
different methods just to get it.
We have another viewer here called Cold Steel who says you could use a compass or a protractor, or cut a template in a thick card as well.
Yep.
So there are a lot of different options how
Exactly,
to... Yeah. Great. Michael Welsh is asking, how do you get rid of the scratch on the knife's face?
Also here, like this one here.
Yes.
So this, it's very difficult just to polish here on the leather wheel.
Yeah.
You can try it, but mostly this was also very, very deep here. I got a little bit better, but then you see all from the manufacturer, you have still the lines here. So at the end I would go for a flat surface, take a wet sandpaper, very fine, and do it by hand in the beginning, because then establish the edge afterwards, not that you destroy in that process the already established nice edge.
They're already helping each other here, our viewers, which is great, and give each
Good.
other tips as well. John says, to me, throwing away knife is and should be the last resort. I'm impressed with the alternate shaping strategies. I'm looking forward of trying many of these. Thank you, John. That's exactly what we hoped for, that you would get inspired and try
Exactly.
to find...
There's no right and wrong.
No.
It's same like the herbal knife. I took the tip a little bit down, that because when you cut always straight up, you can always the tip instead of overdoing, that you have really comfortable shape. So,
and of course, these are not by any means the only way to go. This is how we handle the problem and our inspiration. So hopefully you will find your own solutions. Meng the man. Swords are easier to sharpen because high carbon steel is softer but more durable. Stainless steels are harder but more brittle and more difficult to sharpen. Yes, you're correct. Mark Andrews says, I'm a new Tormek user and would appreciate a demonstration of how to avoid a concave edge due to heel guards on European knives, and a demonstration on reshaping concave blades due to the heel guards.
this is what we talked about here, to avoid,
Yes.
or if you want it, if you have it, like recurved hunting knives.
Yeah.
But we have the first and I think number 10 of our sessions, we have done it live.
Yeah.
There, and then we have another one, outdoor knives with the gut opener. That's
Yeah.
also rounded. It's the same technique. We have explained it there. If you check this,
Backwards you will find...
very in detail explained.
Yes. Great. I often seem to be too fast to say when it's time to leave, and then when I say bye, people ask questions afterwards. So if you have any questions left, please fire away now, and I will have a last look before we go. Meanwhile, Wolfgang, is there anything you would like to add? Do you have any last words?
Take care of your knives.
Yes?
This is a main thing, because don't cut on glass boards, ceramic boards, stainless steel, cut on wood. Best on straight up fibers and grains. Don't go in the dishwasher, because especially when they're wood handles, you will destroy them through the very aggressive cleaning detergent. Keep your knives sharp, because and don't wait too long, because it's much faster. Very often 3-4 strokes, then standing there and sharpen from complete the bottom up the knives. Have a magnetic list or in a drawer, but don't throw them in a drawer. Mine personally, all knives are upwards with the edge. Good thing is I see already the reflections. If there's some reflection, I know, okay, it's okay, or they're too much or too big, then I have to sharpen my knives. And I go only on the Japanese stone, because I don't wait too long. The only thing is, if someone else opened the drawer, because they are sharp,
and you might cut
and you
yourself.
have all the knives in there. But even if you have a knife block, don't go with the edge downwards, always with the edge upwards, because when you draw it out, otherwise you cut in the wood here over the back, doesn't matter, so you protect it too. So these are...
Treat your knives with love.
Exactly, hand cleaning.
And don't open tin cans with them.
Absolutely not. No. And no frozen,
No.
no bones, then you have special knives for that.
We had one last question here. I was wondering, is the Tormek T4 good for sharpening chisels and plane blades?
Absolutely.
It's great. We have full episodes of both chisels and plane blades in our live sharpening classes, so please go back there. And everything we do, we often use the T8, but everything we do on the T8 works perfectly well, and the same way with the
On the T4.
little brother T4.
Yeah.
Great. I think that's everything for today. If you feel that we haven't properly answered your question, or if you are looking at this afterwards, please don't hesitate to ask your questions in the commentary here below, and we'll answer them in writing afterwards. Thank you, Wolfgang. Always a pleasure,
pleasure,
to be
yes.
with you. Thank you, Victor. Great job handling the camera, and even more impressive with the graphics. It makes our life way easier. Please stay tuned, because as I said before, next episode will be about our new knife jigs, the KJ45 and the KJ140. We're looking forward to it.
These beauties.
The Holy Grail. We hope you're looking forward to it as well. Thank you a lot for watching, and until next time.
See you.